You're listening to the Bob Duco Show. All right, it's official now. The Bureau of Economic Analysis report has come out with their final numbers now for the end of Barack Obama's presidency. And it turns out that his final year in office, GDP, economic growth, was 1.6% for the entire year of 2016. That now makes Barack Obama officially the only president since the Great Depression, the only president who has ever, in his entire presidency, not even had 1 year where he averaged 3% GDP growth for the year. Not one. Now, the reason that this is significant, folks, is because you have this battle of economic success from the right and the left as far as assessing Barack Obama's job. You have Republicans saying, no, his economic policies were horrible for this country. They were not good. You have Democrats going, no, are you kidding me? We've had long sustained positive economic growth. So the last 8 years, his economic policies have been good. They have been positive. And then you get Americans looking at this like they're watching a tennis match, turning their head to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, and go, well, who's telling the truth? Democrats say the economy's been good for the last 8 years. Republicans say it's been bad for the last 8 years. So who do you believe? This is why, as I've always said about all issues, let's look at the evidence itself, let's look at the facts, let's set opinion aside, and then let's determine, based on the facts, based on the evidence, what's the most logical conclusion to draw. GDP stands for gross domestic product. It's the state of the economy. It's economic growth in the country. In other words, all of the money circulated and spent. When you go buy something at the store, you're participating in the GDP. It's the economic activity in the country. So GDP, just to give you an idea, is 1% to 2% is considered very weak, anemic GDP. That means the economy is sputtering along. It's not moving very, very fast at all. Not that many people are buying things. Okay? 3% GDP is considered stronger. It's not super strong, it's not super robust, but at least it's starting to get to a kind of respectable level. 4% GDP is considered pretty strong. 5% is woohoo, the economy's humming. So I want to make sure everybody understands that's kind of how that's kind of how you grade the growth of the economy. Well, when you have a recession, after the recession, GDP typically is stronger because you have economic growth that happens after a recession. So when Barack Obama came into office and there was a recession that he inherited, the recession ended in June of his first year in office, June 2009. A recession is defined by 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP, where the economy actually contracted, shrank for 2 quarters in a row for 6 months. So if we have 6 months where we run negative GDP, that's the official definition of a recession. But when you come out of a recession, GDP, here's what's normal. It goes up over 3%, 4%, 5% because it's very strong. And one of the things we also know, and you can track this for yourself, is from the time of the Great Depression, the stronger the recession, the deeper the recession, the stronger and more powerful the recovery. If it's just a little weak recession, wasn't that serious, then the recovery is not really that strong. But if the recession was really deep, then the recovery is really strong. We've heard so much from the Democrats about, look at how deep the recession was that Obama inherited. Okay, that means that his recovery should have been the strongest recovery since the Great Depression. Problem is, it hasn't been the strongest recovery. It hasn't even been slightly higher than average recovery. It hasn't even been average recovery. It hasn't even been slightly below average recovery. It has held the record as the absolute slowest recovery since the Great Depression. The reason for this is because his economic policies of bigger government and higher taxes and more regulations on businesses, these economic policies don't stimulate jobs, they don't stimulate the economy. And that's the reason why the economy's been sputtering along so badly after what was a pretty deep recession. So now the 2016 numbers are in. It's 1.6. So now what you have to do is you have to look at every single president since the Great Depression. And what you see is every single president had at least 1 year over 3%. Barack Obama, his best year was 2015 at 2.6%. And then his final year in office, 2016, went back down to 1.6%. So in all fairness, I know Democrats can say, oh, no, the economy under Barack Obama has been phenomenal. It's been great. Look at all this sustained length of time of job growth every single month. And they can put the happy face on it all they want to. But the bottom line is it's the worst economic recovery from a recession since the Great Depression. And it was supposed to be the strongest recovery since the Great Depression because of how deep the recession was. And he's the only president since the Great Depression to not have at least 1 year of cracking 3% as the average annual GDP. Only president, that's it. So people can believe what they want to on the left, but they're kind of kidding themselves. I mean, I don't know a better way to put it. His economic policies have not worked. What you need to do to stimulate jobs, to stimulate job growth, has been the Republican model, and that's what Donald Trump is doing. Let's lower taxes on all Americans, middle class, but the wealthy also. Let's lower corporate taxes so that corporations can be a little bit more profitable. Remember, we have a 30%, 35% corporate tax rate in America. That's the highest corporate tax rate in the entire industrialized world, around the entire planet. No industrialized nation has a higher corporate tax rate than the United States. That's the reason why so many American corporations are saying, hey, let's open up a factory in some other country, because why should we open up a factory here when we got to pay 35% corporate taxes when we can open it up in some other country and pay 15 or 20%? That's why Donald Trump says, let's get the corporate tax rate down. I'd like to get it to 15%, but at least let's get it substantially below 35. What do the Democrats do? Oh, you're just trying to help the rich. You're just trying to help corporations. You don't care about regular folks. No, what he cares about is stimulating jobs and job growth and the economy and getting GDP up over 3%. Wouldn't that be nice? You got to ease regulations on businesses. Quit strangleholding them with regulation after regulation after regulation. I'm not saying there should be zero regulations, but you can't have the amount that we have right now because corporations can't afford this, especially small businesses can't afford this. They're spending so much money in legal fees and everything else, having to comply with all these government regulations, that the companies aren't making money. And if they're not making enough money, they're not going to grow and expand and hire more people. And if you lower everybody's taxes, including taxes on the wealthy, that means everybody, including the wealthy, has more money in their pocket. If they have more money in their pocket, they're going to go out and buy more things. When they buy more things, that stimulates the economy. It raises GDP. But also, when they're buying more things, who do you think's making the things that they buy? The middle class, right? The working class workers, blue collar workers, they're the ones making the products that the rich people buy. They're the ones servicing and manufacturing the products and selling the products that the rich people buy. So I want rich people to buy more yachts. Let them buy more yachts. You know why? Because you got regular blue collar people who are making the nuts and bolts and the fabric and everything else that goes on those yachts. And you want those companies that they work for to get more business, don't you? That's the answer here. The answer is not to fold your arms, point at the rich and go, those evil people, they don't deserve a tax break. Those corporations, they don't deserve to be more profitable. All right, take that attitude, and you're going to see it's going to make the economy sputter, as we have seen for 8 years now. It's a philosophical difference of opinion between conservatives and liberals, Republicans and Democrats, about the best way to help the working poor, the middle class, stimulate the economy, create jobs. We just have a fundamental difference of opinion. The left is, oh, it's trickle-down economics. I don't agree. So, for many of us, we'll just have to agree to disagree, but that's how I look at it. You're listening to The Bob Dutko Show.